Hello, good day everyone. Today we're going to show a video tutorial sewing casual apparel, particularly the blouse. The parts that are needed in sewing blouse are the following. The front part. Of course, there are two parts for the front part and the back part. The sleeves, there are two for the sleeves also, and the collar cover, which the dimension is 1.5 by the measurement of the neck. Of course, we have to mark X for the wrong face of each side of the front part, and we're going to stitch or sew the tacks, whichever you want to start with, either for the front part or for the back part. And I am now sewing the tacks for the back part. I am now sewing the tacks for the front part. After sewing the tacks, we'll have to fold the front part into 3 inches. Then we'll have to make a temporary stitch, or if you like, you can use pin to maintain the folded area in its place. Then, after the temporary stitching, we'll have to attach the front part left to the front part right. Then, in attaching the two parts of the front part, we'll have to make it sure that it must be right over left. Use pin or again temporary stitching in order to attach them. Then, place the front part on top of the back part, right face to right face, and stitch the shoulder line. before we sew the side area of the blouse, we'll have to check it first whether the desired measurement of the client will be achieved. So we'll have to measure the bust, the waist, and the hip in order to arrive with a desired measurement. In checking this one, please look at the video. After sewing the shoulder line, in which the front part is attached to the back part right face to right face, then we'll have to stitch or sew the side area of the blouse from the bust line down to the allowance line, passing through the line in which we traced from the pattern, from bust line to waistline to hip line, lastly to the allowance line. Then we will do the same activity on the other side of the blouse. Then after that, we'll have to do the edging. We'll have to use the edger in order to have a clean output. If edger is not available, you can use zigzag. Now, if zigzag is not available, just fold the allowance of the fabric in order to come up with a clean output. Check the armhole according to the desired measurement of the client. Mark X for the wrong face of the sleeves so that we can easily identify which is wrong face and the right face. Then fold the arm tight of the sleeves according to its allowance. Then match the armhole of the sleeves against the armhole of the bodice. Make it sure that they will have the same measurement for you to find it easier in attaching the sleeves into the bodice. In checking the armhole of the sleeves against the armhole of the bodice, we'll have to match the sleeves into the bodice in doing it this way. Put a mark like X or anything so that you can identify that they are the matched sleeve and bodice. Do it also in the same way to the other part of the sleeves and bodice. Then sew the sleeves according to the armhole as it is being matched to the blouse. Then attach the sleeves into the bodice and make it sure that the sleeve that you're going to attach to the bodice is the matched sleeve as you've done a while ago. Do the same in the other side. Now we are done in attaching the sleeves into the bodice. Now we'll proceed to the sewing of collar. In sewing the collar, we'll have to check first the neckline of the bodice in order to match it into the desired measurement of the client. We'll have to base the client's neck measurements in checking the neck or the collar of our blouse. In checking it, we'll have to start 1 inch backward from the folded part of the front part. So we'll have to allocate first 1 inch as allowance for overlapping for the buttons and buttonhole. There is where we start the checking of our collar. Now in checking the collar, we'll have to get the 1/2 measurement of it from the front part down to the back part of the neckline of the bodice. Now we'll have to adjust if necessary. Now, if we can get the desired measurement of the neck measurement of the client, now we'll have to proceed to the checking of our collar also. We'll have to make it sure that the neckline of the bodice must match or fit to the neckline or neck measurement of our collar. So its neck measurement of the bodice must be the same to the neck measurement of the collar, which is based on the neck measurement of the client. Then we'll have to sew the collar right face to right face according to its measurement. Then after that, we'll have to inverse the collar right face facing at you, then stitch the open part. And we are now ready for attaching the collar into the bodice. Of course, we'll have to unpin the folded part of the front part. Then we will have to detach also the temporary stitches which we made from during the start of our sewing. Then inverse the folding of the front part. This time it's right face to right face. Then stitch the 1 inch allowance. Then when you reach the 1 inch allowance of the front part for the buttonholes and the buttons, insert the collar in between of the folded part of the front part. Then stitch it up to the other end of the collar. Now when you reach to the other end of the collar, make sure that you'll have to provide also a 1 inch allowance for overlapping for the buttonholes and buttons. Then after attaching the collar, place it in its original position. Then attach now the collar cover by folding it and stitch it or sew it as where you are stitching your collar. Then trim excess fabrics in order to come up with a clean output. Then inverse the sewn collar cover and stitch it again by top stitching it. in top stitching the collar cover, you'll have to make it sure that you will start it from the folded part of the front part to the other end of the folded part of the other front part also, and you'll have to pass through the most side of the collar cover. Then lastly, we'll have to check from the neck down to the allowance line in order to come up with an aligned blouse according to the measurement, according to the full length of our client. Then put a mark on it as an indicator where we fold our bottom line or the hip line of the blouse. And finally, fold the bottom of the blouse. Just follow as what it is shown in the video in order to come up with a proper way of folding the bottom of the blouse. That ends our demonstration for sewing blouse. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.